Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hi.
This is your
Can you hear me?
this is your conscience here to wake you up early in the morning.
Sorry for constantly bugging you from 3 a.m.
No, no worries, no worries. I like because of the stuff I do in New Zealand, I'm like on all time zones all the time, so I'm so used to it now.
Yeah. What are you doing in New Zealand now?
Well, I was doing a little bit of venture capital kind of stuff there, and then I'm talking to some people in government over there. So it's just like I do a lot of meetings over there. So it's just like that time zone's totally messed up, and then I do a lot of stuff in East Asia. So like that time zone's like 12, 13 hours. And then I don't know, I'm like all over the place because then a lot of my people are in California, so they're like behind me. So I'm used to it now. It's no worries.
Mm. I'm also
How
used
are
to
you guys doing?
yeah, I because I work in WD, I'm used to all kinds of time zones.
Yep. Yep. And then now I'm actually going to Dubai this Sunday, and then I'm gonna be there until like in the Middle East until I don't really know. So then I'm gonna be like in the middle. So I don't know what that time zone is gonna be like, but we figure it out.
So
Are
it's
you not coming
10:30
to
p.m.
India? Are you not coming to India?
I have to. I have to. I like it's that's what I was actually seriously considering that because it's like Dubai's like right there. It's like right next to it. And I'm like, I really got to make a trip down because I've never been. But I don't know. Let's see. Let's see if it lines up. Because right now I don't have an exit ticket yet. I just have the going ticket to Dubai. So I don't have the exit. So
I just
we'll
came back
see.
from Dubai. So I
Oh,
think
nice, nice. How was it?
what dates are you in Dubai?
I'm going this Sunday or literally tomorrow. So like tomorrow until all of next week at least. And then maybe longer. I might travel more within the
Tell me
Middle East.
dates. Tell me dates.
Perfect. I'll shoot you a text with the
Okay.
dates.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll introduce you to some people there.
Perfect. Yeah, I'd really appreciate that. That'd be awesome. Cool.
Where are you staying in Dubai?
I'm actually not 100% sure yet either. I think the St. Regis in but not the one on the Palm, the one that's like in the city.
Oh, okay. Because I just stayed in the Radisson because everything else was full up. But it's quite nice.
Oh,
It's the first resort hotel.
really?
So the Palm is quite nice. And we stayed at the Palm. And
How
this
was that?
that's quite nice, except that we went for work and there were all these people in bikinis and in holiday clothes. And here we are like all set
Oh.
to work. I felt really bad. Sorry for myself.
That's kind of crazy because in some other Middle Eastern countries you can't wear bikinis or anything like this
Yeah,
at
yeah,
all. So
yeah.
Dubai
No,
is very they have
so,
alcohol and stuff now too, I think.
yeah. No, so this you should go to the Palm if you'll just see um it's like Instagram physically.
That's such a good way to put it because I've seen this is actually my first time to the Gulf. And
Mm.
so I'm super excited because I've never been to the Gulf before. The closest I've actually ever been to the Middle East is Turkey. So I've like never been to like any of that region of the
No, it's
world. So I'm
entirely different from Turkey. I've been to Turkey as well, but it's very different.
Yep. Yeah, I've heard. Plus, like, I have like so many friends out there, and they're all like so excited that I'm finally coming. So I'm looking forward to it. It was like a last minute kind of thing. That's why it's like so abrupt. Like, I basically finalized the tickets like yesterday. So, like,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm excited for it. And then I was just in San Francisco. I don't know if I mentioned to you, but before this, I was
Mhm.
in San Francisco for like about a month, a little bit over a month. I was crashing with another one of my friends, like a young fund manager, and then like my friend runs a like her hacker house with Sam Altman, and so I was literally like crashing on the couch there in this like mansion in like San Francisco, and it was really cool. I think I met a lot of people from my fund and stuff out there too.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've been like traveling so much, and then I immediately went to Boston. No, I went to New York like 2 days, Boston, and then I just got back to Jersey for like 4 days, and now I'm going to Dubai. I don't know, it's like a lot of travel, but maybe I'll add India to the list because I need
Yeah,
to make my way.
yeah.
Cool. And what time is it for you guys right now?
Well, it's a very comfortable time. It's 5 minutes to 3 p.m.
Cool. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm just happy that I was able to wake up on time. I had like so many alarms set just to make sure that I can wake up.
You're looking completely fresh. You don't look like you had trouble waking up. Mhm.
No, I appreciate it. Because I used to wake up around this time like consistently, but then once I started traveling a bunch, like my whole sleep schedule has been like
Mm.
yesterday I woke up at like 3 a.m. and then I couldn't go back to bed, so I was just working and then I don't know, I've been doing like accidentally doing the bimodal sleep where you sleep in like two chunks of four instead of like eight
Okay.
together. And I've
Mm.
been like accidentally doing that, like not on purpose, but it's just kind of happened now because I think I'm so like messed up with time zones. So it's just easier. Uh,
Also, when your
yeah.
brain is very buzzed, you can't sleep
Yep. I feel like most entrepreneurs are like, I'm sure you've experienced this too. Like, I think most
all the
entrepreneurs
time.
like
All the time. I wake
sometimes.
up at 5:45 exactly every morning.
There
And
you go.
yeah, I try to sleep early, but then after I've had some 4 hours of sleep, I'm done. Actually, I don't need the rest of it, but I know I'm going to have a big full day. Every day is a big full day with many
Uh,
meetings and whatever. So I make an effort to go back to sleep. So I always wake up in the middle of the night and then go back to sleep.
uh. Yeah, that's been like me recently. I think because I was in the SF time zone for so long, I think it messed me up by like 3 hours. It's like a 3 hour difference, I think, between SF and New York. So now I'm back like home East Coast, but it's like still it's been a little bit crazy. And then before I go to Dubai, I'm doing like a very short kind of day trip to Bahrain, just because like to break up the flight, but also I just I wanted to see it because I feel like there was no other reason for me to see Bahrain. Like I don't know. There's no business reason for me to go to Bahrain. So I was like, I should just check it out. So I don't know if there's a time zone difference within the Emirates, but we'll see.
I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't think there should be too much.
If anything, it'd be like 1 hour. I think that's like Japan, Korea is like a one
Yeah,
hour difference,
yeah,
or
yeah.
Japan and China is like a 1 hour because it's like so close. It's not that big a deal. Perfect. Cool. Well, I'm super excited for the podcast.
Yeah.
Is everything like set up? Like everything
Yeah,
sounds
yeah, yeah.
okay? All
Yeah, yeah.
that?
So
Okay.
yeah, so we will record this and then make it available as well, and there'll be some people
Cool.
joining now too.
Okay, awesome. And do you usually post it on like Spotify and stuff as well, or you just post it on like YouTube,
Right
LinkedIn?
now it's YouTube.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because one of my friends, I was talking to one of my friends, he does like a venture capital podcast.
Mm.
And he was telling me, he was like, dude, like Spotify is really good for podcasts, apparently. Like if
Check it
they
out.
index
Somebody
really
check
high
it
and
out.
stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what he was telling me. That's why I was asking, because he was saying like they index really high. So when you search it, it goes really high up in like search results. And then
Okay.
also like apparently they pay better, like per view and stuff. Like it's
Yeah,
he was telling me that he was like, dude, like you might because I was thinking of maybe starting some sort of podcast
you
just
should.
like within venture capital because I have such an interesting network now because I mainly focus on like influencer backed in venture capital. So it's like very niche thing, but there's a lot of interesting people within the content creation space that I know and I can talk to. And he was like, dude, like you don't even necessarily need to do YouTube. Just do like Apple Music, Spotify, because that's like where you're gonna get most of the viewership anyway, and it indexes higher. So I don't
Mm.
know. That's what I was asking. Maybe check it out. Apparently it's pretty good. I've never done it though.
Check it out. Yeah, we'll check it out.
I know at least as an artist, Spotify's pretty good. Like I used to, because the way they split their revenues for artists is slightly different. Because normally, like Apple Music, it's like a set, or at least it used to be
Yeah,
this way. I don't know if they
yeah,
changed it, but it's like a set, like a quarter of a cent or whatever it is per stream. But then Spotify, what they do is they take like the aggregate, like they make this pool of money that they made from subscription revenue, they pool that together, and then they look at how much percentage that month did you have of the total streams Spotify had of that month, and then proportionally they like give that to you
okay.
if that makes sense. And that ends up being more advantageous a lot of the time for like smaller artists. Because if you just look at it like me as like a media like I was not like a huge artist, but like a medium-sized artist, I like made significantly more money through that way than like oh it's like some quarter cents per stream. So I don't know, maybe the ads and stuff are better too.
Yeah, we
Cool.
can look at that. But the thing is, see, for instance, on Mind, our partners are people who are a very large edtech company.
Yep.
So through them also we will have a lot of reach on the YouTube once we have it up there.
Cool. Well, I'm super excited for it. I'm excited to see it, and I'm excited. I think we're right on the hour, or
Yeah,
right on
yeah,
the
we're
minute.
on the hour.
Perfect.
We
Can't
have
hear you so much. Yeah, good. I can hear you.
four people in the waiting room, and okay, it's increasing now. I'll just give it one more minute. Yeah.
Cool.
Think you could start somewhere?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Hello. Welcome to Mindcast. Hello, everyone. Please let us know where you are joining from in the chat box. Courtney Lay, where are you joining from? Please let us know in the chat. Hi, Neil. Welcome to Mindcast Session 5. Hello, Pradeep. Rabin Almedia, where are you joining from? Please let us know. Hi, Cheryl. Ashish Bari, hello. Please let us know where you are joining from. Mr. Lakshmikant, hello, hi. Welcome to Mindcast Session 5. We would really love it if you just put on the chat where you are joining from, because we have people from all over the world. And in the last 4 sessions, we have had like 400 plus participants. We beam it from the buzzing North Bengaluru area and from Design Barn. And today we have people joining from New York, from New Zealand, and many other places. All right, so I'll just give you all a very brief introduction to Mindcast and what we have planned today. So, first of all, welcome to Mindcast Session 5. And joining us today, all the way from New York, is our sensei for Mindcast, Tahnoon Murtza. Hi, Tahnoon. And
Hey.
hi. And so Mindcast, has been a very successful series over the past 1.5 months or so. And we have had hundreds of participants from all over the world. Hi, Ashish. Hi, Pradeep. And what we do here is we decode the science of creative success, because in every session we speak about creativity, about innovation, about entrepreneurship, and much more, from which we derive insights. We cull them together, we discuss, and we have a lot of questions and curiosity. All of the questions are put on the Q&A box. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them on the Q&A box. It's just on your window. And if not, then please feel free to put them on the chat box. And yeah, at the towards the end of the session, I'll make a big announcement about something that's coming up. So please make sure to stay tuned till the end of the session. Anyway, we are hoping that you will, because today's session is going to be pretty exciting. I'm going to tell a little bit about Tahnoon. He has been a punk musician who has charted number one in the US. He's going to tell us more about that. And he has been a part of a $30 billion firm. And today he is the founder of a company called Grey Sheep Ventures. With him, we are going to know a lot about what it takes for the Gen Z to crack the landscape of AI and really make it work for them as entrepreneurs, and as performers. And we also have Sonia Manchanda with us today. She is going to be the Mindcast host. She's a 3X co-founder of Spread, the only woman from India who is part of world's perhaps one of the most oldest and the largest design organizations, World Design Organization, WDO. And she's the founder of an ecosystem which includes the Design Barn, Design Open, and Design Farm. So, without much ado, let us start this session and let's have fun. Please put in your questions. I'll see you at the end of the session. Over to Sonia and Tony.
Hi, Tanun. So it's
Hey.
5:30 in the morning, and this is something you're
Yeah.
used to doing at your age. And I'm surprised because I always assume that us older folks are the ones who wake up early, um, and the younger ones sleep in a little bit. But I'm really happy to see that you are up early and you're so fresh and so energetic as always. And since we've had such interesting conversations, I thought we need to share you with the rest of the people we know. Um,
Awesome.
and you'll get to make a lot of friends today, and I'm sure they'll stay in touch with you. And maybe
Perfect.
I'll tell them that they can connect with you on LinkedIn. Yeah,
Yes.
and
Yes.
we can continue the conversation there. And of course, you'll also be a sensei on the Mind program. So, in which case, they have access to you, and in a structured way, we'll make them meet you once they're part of the program,
I
which,
love it.
yeah, Samrat is going to talk about that later. But, I'm really curious about at this moment, and I know you're just 21 years old, you're just a baby as far as I'm concerned. But but you're doing amazing things. So what is it that's keeping you up at night? What are the things you're thinking about? What is the most challenging thing that you want to do in the present moment? And if all shackles, all constraints were taken away, what is it that you would be doing?
Yeah, I mean, this is such a good question. I feel like, and we talked about this briefly in like the intro, like before practice thing, and like, yeah, I think the biggest thing, I think all entrepreneurs when they're founding anything, they have those sleepless nights. And so recently, my sleepless nights, yesterday and today being two of them, is really like for me right now, starting this fund, I want to make sure that I start off right and having the right people involved, both from like an advisory board perspective but also from like an LP and investor perspective into my fund. And so what's been keeping me up is just making sure that I can find the right people who are aligned and believe in the vision that venture capital needs to be modernized and there's aspects of venture capital that can be improved. And so that's like the biggest thing because I talk to a lot of cool people all the time and it's just about, tracking them all in my head. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I have to reach out to that person tomorrow and then I have to reach out to this person. Um, and then in terms of like, if I could do anything, I mean, this is the thing is like the thing I love about what I'm working on right now is that if I could do anything in the world, I'd be doing exactly what I'm doing now. I feel extremely passionate that venture capital needs to innovate and that there needs to be kind of this creative revolution within kind of the venture capital space. And so like I really love it. And so if I could be doing anything, I'd be doing what I'm doing now. And yeah, so that's what's been keeping me up at night.
And you talked a little bit about this influencer-led entrepreneurship, creativity.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, for context, what I'm building out is Gray Sheep Ventures. And Gray Sheep Ventures is essentially a venture capital firm that focuses specifically on investing in consumer products made by influencers or celebrities, or creatives in general, or in like consumer focused startups where they leverage social media as part of their core like growth strategy and as part of their core distribution. And so they focus on trying to go viral. And so all of it kind of revolves around this idea of creating content, and I think that creating content is an inherently like creative thing. Um, and so yeah, that's what we focus on. We do early stage stuff. We're trying to be around the seed stage. And the whole idea of the firm is that we're trying to optimize to be more friendly towards these type of founders because typically within the venture capital ecosystem, many young founders, especially Gen Z, um, they've been very disenfranchised. They don't have much of a voice on the founder side of venture capital. And so I'm trying to be one of those positive voices, trying to give Gen Z and creatives a bit of a voice on the venture capital side of the startup ecosystem.
Awesome, awesome. And I think what you're talking about is also very much more human to human. Yeah,
Yes.
yes. So before we get into manufacturing and productizing and all of that, it's just making direct connections and getting it done. What
Yep.
about like, um, what about certain values? I mean, are you thinking about things like sustainability? Are you thinking about what are the kinds of values that come to mind when you're
Yeah,
looking for, when you will look out for, the sort of startups to invest in or the founders to back?
yeah. I think like the biggest thing is just in my life, I have a policy that I don't deal with like people who can't work with other people. And just like I just don't like to deal with people who are very like very, very like self-centered or very like not humble, these kind of things. And so that's like one of the core values is I try to find companies where I just genuinely connect with the founders very well. And we have that very good relationship. And I'm like, okay, this is someone who I would want to hang out with this guy or girl just generally, not just because they have a business. And I just think that like that's important. It's just like being a good person, being like humble and these kind of things I think is very important. Beyond that, in terms of like sustainability, these kind of things, I always have a special place on my heart for any type of startups that are creating impact. My tech company before this was an impact venture. I was focused on helping senior citizens with dementia and loneliness and these kind of things. So there's always a very special part of my heart for people who are like, you know what, I'm trying to make the world a better place. Um, and so yeah, I like investing in companies if I can that are leaving the world in a more positive place than where they started. And founded by people who are just genuine, kind souls. And they're like the type of people where I'm like, I would love to introduce you to my mom. And my mom would be like, this is a good person. So like that's like my main criteria in terms of values.
It's awesome. That's awesome. I'm sure you'll get a lot of hearts for that. But typically, I mean, the speak in the private equity space is very different. I mean, founders
Yeah.
uh, turn out to be quite arrogant, and
Yep.
so I'm really happy that you're thinking in this way. And I'm curious to know the what got you here. What were some of the challenges? What made you think like this, and what got you here? So tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, so like I always tell people I probably have one of the most like unorthodox, weird backgrounds for a venture capitalist and just generally for an entrepreneur. I guess to like go way back to when I was like 6 years old. I like to think I started becoming an entrepreneur when I was like 6 to 8 years old. And eight is when I did my first concert. I was like this punk and metal drummer, hence like the all black outfit. I feel like I still have the punk fashion sense maybe. But like I um I did my first concert at the age of 8. I fell in love with the idea of performing. And I remember my first concert, the bartender, like I was playing in this bar outside New York City in Hoboken, New Jersey, if anyone knows where that is. And the bartender gave me like a $20 bill for playing for the night. And I was like, wow, like the feeling, I just remember that feeling when I was like 8. I was like, I just made money from doing something I love, like making other people enjoy themselves more. And like, I don't know, that feeling of like I was able to make money through creating value for other people and then also doing something I love. I was like addicted. And so in my life, I've probably done close to like 1,000 shows. My mother, God bless her, has been to every single one of them. And at the age of 12, I got featured in Drum Magazine, which is like the biggest magazine in the world for drumming. It's like the Forbes 30 under 30 for drummers, basically. That's like the best analogy I can make. And when I got in that magazine, I had a lot more attention from larger record labels, managers, artists, this kind of stuff. And so I got into the music business through this, essentially. Um, and then so I've been in the entertainment space essentially since I was 6. This is part of the reason why I focus on creatives when I'm in my investment, and part of the reason why I focus on influencers, just that I've been in that industry literally since I was 6 years old. And so yeah, so I got in this magazine at 12. At 13, I was backstage of Madison Square Garden with some big metal artists, and I totally by chance met a very famous businessman. His name's Jordan Belfort, the Wolf on Wall Street. Maybe some of you watching have like seen the movie, but I met him when I was 13 and I was talking to him, and he basically gave me the advice of like, listen, man, like if you want to be a professional artist, and this is part of the advice that I give to artists and creatives in general, he's like, if you want to be a professional musician, you have to treat it like a business because that's what it is. And so that advice really, really stuck with me. And so at 13, I remember going home, I was on YouTube and I go and I search up like, okay, how do I start a business? And this is my first exposure to venture capital was that I looked at this YouTube video. I distinctly remember it. And they basically said like, oh, first you get like fundraising. It's like, oh, there's these people called venture capitalists. And I was like, wow. So there's people who basically invest and they make money from basically helping other people create impact and do these amazing things and help with their dreams. And I thought that was so cool. But at that point, I was still on my, rock star journey, I guess. And so I did not raise venture capital money because turns out being an artist is not like a venture backable business.
Correct.
But I did raise some stuff from some friends and family, some stuff from some other artists who are like, more successful and in the industry more. And I switched from drumming to playing guitar and singing. That way I could be a solo artist or be a front man. So it's, more of a brand that I can sustain. I marketed myself, pushed myself on different playlists. And then fast forward when I was 15, I was able to get enough. I had like a few million streams across projects and platforms and bands and stuff I did. And at that point, at 15, I got a charted number one on SoundCloud's new and hot alternative rock charts in the US. And at that point, I guess I had a shift because I realized this is why being an artist is not venture backable. Because while I love music and I'm still an artist today, like I still record music, I'm like recording this session in my studio. Um, it's just that from a business perspective, it's not the most lucrative. The ROI on like streaming revenue is like quarters of cents on the stream. And so then I went into more of the creative business space of like, okay, what if I help artists with their marketing and management, create like a recording studio, these kind of things. So I started this business in basically when I was like 15 until when I finished high school. I scaled those both up to be highly profitable businesses. And then I started an AI company, the one I mentioned about senior citizens when I went to university, right when I went into university. I did that for 2 years. I co-founded with my younger brother, and then now my younger brother and my father now run it. And I took a step back there for 2 years because I joined the private equity firm. And then once I got into the private equity firm, I guess because like private equity is over here on the spectrum and entrepreneurship is like over here on the spectrum, I felt like in the middle in venture capital. And at that point, I was like, wow, like venture capital is incredible. And I guess I connected back to that 13-year-old me when I saw this like YouTube video. And so I started saying, okay, let me like start learning about this. So I got involved a little bit in New Zealand with some venture capital stuff, some stuff in Saudi Arabia, some stuff which is generally in New York, Boston, SF. I just started getting really tapped into the ecosystem and understanding what are the pain points and what are people like struggling with founders, what do they not like about venture capital, and what are the problems with it, because you famously hear a lot of founders hate venture capital, like it's not a very positive association generally. And so I was like, okay, like how can I fix this, how can I tweak this? And that's when I totally became obsessed. And now it's like all I think about all day is pretty much just trying to build out a venture capital firm that I think I wish existed when I was like that young founder. So yeah, that's pretty much the whole journey from like when I was very young to like now where I am.
So, you went to Babson's, and yeah, yeah. So, did learning about entrepreneurship, did that help your journey?
Yeah, like so I
Really?
always tell people Babson is literally the only school I applied to because I was making enough money, alhamdulillah, from my business in high school that I actually was not planning on going to university. I was like, I don't need university. I'm making enough money. I bought my car in cash when I wanted it. I was like, I'm good. Like I can live like a nice middle class type life in America, doing literally what I love, which is making music. And I was like, this is perfect. Um, but my mother was like, coming from, my Desi
Yeah, I
mother,
get it. Yeah.
and Middle Eastern mother was like, "You idiot! You're going to college. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, go to university." And I've come to learn that my mother is like always correct, and she was totally right with that. So when I was put in that position where it's like you got to pick a university, you're going to one of them, then I picked Babson College mainly because of it's number one in the world for entrepreneurship. And I can confidently say that like Babson has had a direct positive correlation to my success, so far at least the little that I've achieved. Babson has been huge because the network of Babson into the entrepreneurial ecosystem is huge. And so it's like every single Babson student, a lot of people don't know this, but part of the core curriculum Babson is that every single Babson student either joins a startup their freshman year or creates a startup that raises money from the endowment of Babson, basically. And so my freshman year, I was the CEO of my business. But these businesses can get very serious. Like a lot of people don't know this, but Ring doorbells, for those who are calling in from America, they're probably pretty familiar. They're like everywhere now in America. But Ring doorbells was founded from that class, actually. And so like there's some serious heavy hitter startups that have actually come out of that basically built-in accelerator into the curriculum. Um, and so yeah, like Babson, I was just at Babson because they invited me to be like a moderator for this like back to Babson like every single year. The whole global Babson community joins back at Babson like once a year. So that was like just like a few days ago, literally. And so I went back for that. But yeah, 100% the education at Babson around entrepreneurship, I think is next to none. I spent a lot of time at Stanford and some of these other schools as well who are like amazing. Like I love Stanford. All my friends at Stanford, it's like super amazing school. But I do think that Babson has a little bit of that unique edge compared to a lot of the traditional universities. Um, and also, I think more than anything, it was just the network. Like, I literally, the network that led me to then being the youngest partner of a $30 billion firm when I was 21, that was actually directly correlated to Babson because the guy who introduced me to the guy who introduced me to the guy, whatever, whatever, was actually the starting point was at Babson, actually. And so, this is like, I think the biggest thing about Babson is the network is incredible. You meet people from around the world which is just amazing because before I was like born and raised in the States for the most part of my life. I've really been mainly to Canada because my mother's Canadian, so I'd like travel there a bunch. Now I like live all over. Now I've been in Japan half the year and like I've been all over, but Babson was my real exposure for the first time to international people and like people who come from international places. And I think that's what makes America so beautiful. So I love it in a lot of different facets.
So you learned very early on, like you learned at 8, something that a lot of people don't learn all their lives, or they learn too late, which is that you can make money doing something you love.
Yes.
And I see that a lot in India because, and I know in our geographies, you're told that you need to get a stable job and this is what you need to prepare for. Just yesterday, we had
Oh,
some people over and we had this beautiful session where they were talking about their lives, young creatives who were talking about their lives. And one of them said that, well, I was sent off to hostel at age 3,
mm,
and and it was assumed that what I'm going to do is come out and get a stable job, and you that is ingrained in you. There's a lot of
culture.
the people who love you. They culturally put a lot of
Yes.
fear in you, and because of that fear, you never find. Forget about making money with the thing you love. You don't find the thing you love. So
Yes.
you learn that very early on, and I'm hoping the people listening today to us also understand that I mean, I think maybe you need to make the leap. And I think that's the next question I'm going to ask you. What is your advice? What should they do if they haven't yet discovered what they love or they want to make money with what they love to do? Um, we also assume that somebody or the other will find a patron. If I'm a musician, I'll find a patron. If I'm a designer, oh, there's somebody waiting out there who will give me this amazing project and I'll make a lot of money. And it's not about that everyday experimentation, struggle, and which you don't think of as a struggle. What
Yes.
I'm hearing from you, it's not a struggle. It's a game. You play it every day. You have fun playing it,
Yeah.
right? So that's
Exactly.
the
Exactly.
struggle really. And it's the way you look at it. Maybe when you're in a job, or maybe what your parents were doing felt like a struggle. But for you,
Mm,
it's not because it's something you enjoy doing.
yeah.
So I just say, what would be your advice to these people? What would be your advice to people who are your age or even a little bit older than you who are possibly in this space of, I have a lot of talent, but am I exactly happy? Do I have the network? You talked about the network, which is so very important, knowing the right people and being able to say yes. I can say in my career, in my entire journey, also, it was if somebody said, you know what, this is not your typical kind of project, or this is not a project for a graphic designer, but this seems interesting, and I would just say yes. Just go for
Yes.
it. What the hell? What the
Yeah.
hell? Just go ahead and do it. And you'll learn something and you'll come out of it stronger, wiser.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and we meet and we interact and we do things together and we keep growing. And that's how things happen. So, what would be your advice? You said even with music, treat it like a
Yeah.
business. I mean, people also get caught up with this is my art, it's too
Mm,
pure, I have to do it this
Yep.
way, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
But the point is, yes, you can have fun. I mean, you've got to earn the money, you've got to be practical. And I think America teaches you to be pragmatic, right?
Yes.
Straightforward, pragmatic. You need to make the money. And then once you make the money, of course, you can do fun things with it. Of course, you can still be
Yes.
a good person,
Uh,
stick with the values you have. So, summarize for me a little bit about the kinds of attitudes that you think that creative people, especially creative people who maybe want to build their own brand or who want to be successful wherever they are doing whatever they are, what are the kinds of attitudes they should have?
Yeah, yeah, that's such an amazing question. And like, first of all, I think like, like my family is like, from we're Desi, we're South
Yes,
Asian
yes.
and Middle Eastern. And so we have very, very similar culture and in some cases the same. So I totally understand like where there's this cultural predisposition to like get into like, be a doctor, be an engineer. Like literally my father, she has numerous sisters. All of them are doctors, and the one who's not a doctor married a doctor. And so it's like I totally like I'm like Daisy border like I totally get it. I the doctor path was set out for me when I was like a kid too. But I think at least for like if there's any young people watching where maybe they have parents where yeah, especially Desi parents or Middle Eastern parents, I can speak to that culture more. Where they're like, maybe not as supportive or they don't see the vision that you see. What I found is that results speak. And so if you can start, because the reason why they're saying this, it's not from like they're worried about reputation or something like this. It's more of like it's a worry about like you being able to sustain yourself and then you be able to take care of yourself. And it's that like very like Desi mom thing, like they always want to feed you when you come home and like make you fat and like it's like this that kind of like they want to nurture you. And it's a very, very loving culture. And I think it's a blessing to have that in our culture. And so if you can show that, look, like I've made this progress or I have X amount of result, or you can show some sort of traction to make them buy into the vision more, I think that's huge. Like work in silence, get some stuff done, and then say, look what I did. That was like a big part of it for me actually, was like when I switched from being a drummer to being a guitarist because originally once again my mother, God bless her, I owe her everything, and my father as well. I am very close with both my parents and like but my whole life I was a drummer since I was 6, and then I suddenly go and I'm like like 13 years old and they're like, whoa, like why do you want to switch to guitar? Like you've built up this incredible talent and this skill and like you have a name for yourself and you're building these things up. Why are you switching? And maybe they didn't see the vision at that time that I saw of like, I know I need to switch because this is how I'm going to be able to sustain being an artist. But once I showed that, I was like, look, I made this thing and I learned this, and then I got this amount of streams, or I talked to this artist, or whatever that metric was. Then they started getting, sold on it. And now like I'm pretty much like I'm like a multi instrumentalist. Now I play guitar. Like my guitars are on the wall behind me. I got my drums next to me. I have like 2 drum kits in this room. So I'm still very much a drummer, but it's just like I've grown a lot from just being a drummer. And so that's what the first thing I would say, just addressing kind of like the first question. And then in terms of like the attitude for a lot of these creatives to have in terms of how can I navigate making a sustainable career out of what I do, but balancing that with making sure it's something I still love doing. I think you have to make a conscious decision as to if you want to do art for the art or if you want to do art for the profession, because I think those are two very different things. If you want to do art for the profession, you have to look at the reality of and we can go into more detail this later in the episode, but like, you have to look at the reality that with AI and these kind of things, distribution is just key now because the barrier to entry to make music is next to nothing now. The barrier of entry for art is really difficult because AI can actually just make a lot of art now, especially graphic design kind of stuff. If you're doing more cartoon work, videography is like now with Sora 2, and like I'm sure everyone's seen those clips. It's like this stuff is getting so democratized, which is beautiful in a sense that now that anyone with an idea can go and make a movie. I think that's cool. Or anyone with a song can go and they just broke up with their girlfriend. They have some heartbreak. They can now put this on the streams. But the issue with that is also that distribution is key. You have to be able to penetrate the noise. You have to look at it from a marketing perspective. You have to compete on the business level, or else you're basically playing a lottery game of like, I'm hoping my song maybe gets traction somehow on social media platforms, and then maybe I get something. But it's going to be almost near impossible. Just at least I can speak to music industry to compete with like record label backed business backed like artists. Like they have millions of dollars behind them. You're already starting as this like scrappy entrepreneur artist. So you got to look at it like a business. If you're not even looking at it like a business to begin with, it's almost impossible. But that's only if you want to do it as a profession. If you're someone who wants to do art to be an artist purely, and I think there's something beautiful to be said in that. I think my brother was always more like this. He's also a musician, also like very similar journey, super talented guitarist, metal kind of guy. He was much more like, I want to look at my music like an art. And he actually built up a cult kind of following. It was relative aggregate stream wise smaller than mine, but probably way more loyal. And those people probably spoke more to his music because it was just so artistic and out there and crazy. Um, if anyone is curious about that music, because his artist name was Zinx, by the way. Shout out Shahan. But like it's I would say if you want to be an artist, there's beauty in that too, and I can't knock that. But then you have to also be aware that to sustain yourself financially, there may be other things you need to do at the same time. Like maybe you do so if you're a graphic designer, maybe you do more professional graphic design stuff. You design your own anime or cartoon on the side, and then you can sustain that side project until it's big enough to take over, and then maybe you can grow it or scale it once it's more put together. But I think the mindset generally is you have to make a conscious decision. Or do you want to be a professional artist or do you want to be an artist? And if you want to be an artist, there's ways to succeed too. And I can go into my strategy of how I would approach that. Mainly network. I would just really, really rely on network heavily if you want to be an artist, because that is like, then that's your avenue to success then. But yeah, that's like, it's, you have to make a conscious decision. I don't think you can't like half it. You have to go all in on one of them and then you can this will
Yeah,
allow you
I hear you. You're saying basically strategically be entirely clear about where you're headed. And if you're not clear-headed about it, if you're fuzzy, then well, you're not going to achieve anything. You will not be either an artist or it won't be a business either. So one
exactly.
needs to have that clarity. You want to weigh in about AI in this? If we triangulate
Yes.
music, creativity, design, art, all of that, and then entrepreneurship, and then AI, like funding, entrepreneurship, and AI. So
Yeah.
you want to talk a little bit about that? Then after that,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you the questions people are asking.
Cool. Awesome. So yeah, I mean like the biggest thing in terms of this new world that we're living in and like the I guess the democratization of content essentially. So first from an artist perspective, 100% like distribution is key. If you're trying to get your sound out there, you're trying to get your art out there, you're trying to get your design out there, you have to have a distribution that hits and you have to have distribution that connects with people. And I also think that, and this is one of my more personal philosophies, and this is actually a philosophy I bring towards why I'm doing the VC fund I am doing. And it's that when it comes to consumer facing stuff, which all art is pretty much, all art is usually consumer facing, most of it. Maybe if you're designing a logo, maybe it's not, but generally it's all like for the masses and the groups of people, millions of people, ideally, God willing, to like view your art and your work. And when it comes to that, you have to have a story alongside your art that people can connect with and resonate with. Because when you have so much content being spewed out that's not even human generated, it's created by AI and like machines. The problem is one, you have to cut through the mix. So you have to have the distribution to get your name out there, get your sound out there, your unique edge out there. And then you also need to have a story that people align with and makes them want to keep coming back to you. So it's like a two-stage problem. It's like the first thing is like you have to grow, foster the attention. You have to grab that attention, and then you have to hold on to it and really capitalize off of it and say, okay, I'm gonna hold on tight and like not let this attention go. So the first part is like distribution is grabbing the attention and then holding it and really like making sure it doesn't leave. That's coming with your story or your personal journey or whatever brand that people are associating with. And so that's like the key thing. And then when it comes from a venture capital perspective and how the fundraising kind of integrates into this whole ecosystem and crazy game of like trying to penetrate into the creative space when you have like so much AI slop kind of everywhere is I think most venture capitalists they look for returns naturally. We're fund managers. So essentially, like I'm different than most entrepreneurs in the sense that it's not a business. Like no one is investing in a product in me. It's not a service that they're investing in. They're basically the people who have given me money or trusted me with their money have basically said that I believe that Tahnoon will manage my money well. I'm a money manager. And so money manager versus entrepreneur in a typical sense are very different. And all venture capitalists are money managers. So at the end of the day, our top priority is, of course, going to be that we need to get returns for our investors. That's our literally legal, at least in the US, there's a term for this fiduciary duty. There's like a legal responsibility to have that as your top priority. And so if you're like a founder of something creative and you're trying to get that venture capital backing, you want to de-risk it as much as possible for us. Like if I'm looking at this, I'm like, damn, I love this founder. This founder's so cool. This founder's art is amazing, or whatever they're building is incredible. And I'm like, I want to back them. You have to make it so I think of it like a safe bet. Like, okay, they have X amount of wait list. Like if you can't build the product yet, build a wait list. There's no excuse not to have a wait list. Like you can distribute for free on social media. This is part of the beauty of the democratization of content is that now you can make content to build a wait list, build these traction points. So build a wait list, build your network, build an advisory board, build like all obviously the product is ideal, but do everything you possibly can before you reach out to the venture capitalist because one, it de-risks it for us. And then two, in my opinion, there's only a handful. Like I could count on my two hands. Um, how many venture capital firms, which go super early, are advantageous to founders. Most venture capital firms that are coming in super early, where they don't have those traction points, to hedge their risk, they're going to be giving you horrible deals. They're going to be doing, kind of predatory contracts. They're going to be doing things where, like, in later rounds, they can really screw you over by, like, there's a lot of clauses and stuff they can put in. So if you want to get a good deal too, from a business perspective, you want to have that traction because it gives you more leverage in the negotiation, and also just a lot more venture capitalists will look at you, which means you can pick the one. I was like, okay, this guy's a good fit, and or that guy's a good fit, whatever. So yeah, that's like kind of that's how I would approach it from a venture capital entrepreneur perspective as well.
So, I mean, we've had these platforms like Kickstarter, etc. You wouldn't look at creating some kind of platform. How would you grow this? I'm curious about that. But I'm just going to throw in a question. Okay. So Jacob is asking, what's your take on the current financialization of the economy, and what's your take on the power law distribution, where a lot of funding goes to a small clutch of ventures?
Yes. So, Jacob, this is like a super relevant question to kind of how I try to position my VC as a whole. And yeah, I think one of the biggest problems I have in venture capital, and I touched on this a little bit, is that it's a very certain stereotypical founder profile which gets selected. For example, Y Combinator. I went to YC Demo Day. I love Y Combinator. Y Combinator is awesome. But I was listening to one of the previous basic judges from Y Combinator who decides who gets in, who gets not into Y Combinator. And he spoke about how, oh, we look for people generally. We like it a lot if you come from a tier one university. So if you're Stanford, you're MIT, Harvard, Babson, like you're one of these like entrepreneurial focus, they look at that. And so now it's like if I'm not a dropout from Stanford now it's like my chances at YC have dropped significantly. And it's like I don't think that's a good determining factor as to like who I'm picking to fundraise from. I don't think that that's like a good criteria. And so 100%, I think that there's a huge problem venture. There's a lot of problems I have in venture capital. I think venture capital has a lot of rewiring, which is what I'm trying to do. But one of them 100% is this kind of thing where a very specific archetype gets funded, first of all. So Stanford dropout, whatever traction, whatever. There's like this stereotypical kind of persona where like a lot of immigrants maybe don't fall into that category, right? Or like a lot of people who like I know founders who've done stuff in high school. It's like they never even went to college. So it's like that's a totally different kind of like persona. And like it's a very particular type of person who gets backed, first of all. And I think that's a problem. And then, like you mentioned in your comment, Jacob, is like there's also a very specific type of startup that gets backed. Most like so I'm focusing 100% on B2C consumer. 100%. I put $0 towards B2B businesses. I'm not a B2B SaaS guy. I'm not trying to invest in fintech, B2B fintech or any of this stuff. I'm like a consumer guy. Consumer now in the US, I can speak to the US venture market better or the Western venture market essentially. And most VCs have pulled out of consumer. If you are a consumer product right now, if you're CPG, if you're consumer tech, if you're consumer anything, most VCs are not bullish on consumer. And so now it's like if you're not a B2B SaaS company that is like a Stanford dropout and like you're making some AI wrapper, you're basically not getting fundraising. It's this huge problem. And so that's why I decided I'm going to look at the influencers and creatives and the celebrity kind of back stuff because those are typically people where they don't fit that typical mold. A lot of these influencers do not fit that typical startup mold. And then I'm also going to look at a sector where it's like the consumer facing space. For one, there's a lot of reasons why I'm actually very optimistic on the future of consumer and economically speaking, I think there's a lot of growth and I think there's a lot of potential there. But part of the reason why I also focused on that is that it's disenfranchised. Like most people are not investing in that space. So yeah, that's kind of my opinion on the power law. I think it's total like it sucks. And I'm trying to be one of the people who are fighting against it and trying to build up on the other side of things of the disenfranchised founders or disenfranchised kind of sectors to try to build those up more.
It's great because then you're at an age when you can take those chances. You can experiment with that, you know. And I think a lot of these guys, they're actually not, they're not taking risks. They're placing safe bets. So, but in what you're trying to do, I mean, you can have some amazing wins. You can have hugely
Yep.
creative and a lot of capital, and and a great consumer response. It's the way rock stars make it big. You can have ventures
Exactly.
make it big. Yeah. So
Yep, yep, yep.
yeah. Okay. So a little bit more about um, if there are musicians listening, designers, creatives, independent artists with their own style, who've
Love it.
sort of started on their journey. And what's your one advice, most important advice that you would give them? Just one thing.
Mm. I mean, I think if I had to give one thing, especially to musicians, I would say don't forget why you started. I think that's the biggest thing because the creative journey, I know it firsthand, both the business creative side of the journey and also like the just creative side of the journey. It's hard. You're in an upwards battle always. It's like a constant war. It's like a constant blitzkrieg of like just pushing. And so I think you have to always remember why you started. For me, the reason I always thought about like when I was like doing even the guitar stuff and I was like pushing and I mean, I would like, we didn't even touch on this, but I used to spend like hours and hours and hours every day on social media after I would come back from school, promoting my music, pushing it, like doing this, reaching out to that person. Like, I was constantly hustling. I've been like hustling seriously, like really heavily since I was like 12. So it's like, and I'm 21 now and I haven't stopped yet. And so like, it's a hard journey and you always have to remember why you started it. And I think for me, I always think back and no joke to that first moment when I was 8 years old and I was this little kid and I was like on this drum set that's way too big for me and I can't even reach the pedals. And like I think about that moment of like, wow, this euphoric feeling of like I I I I had this experience that I just always wanted to keep chasing and keep like remembering. So if you're an artist, especially a musician or any type of artist, all of us I think are very passionate people. I'm a big romantic, as you know, people are close to me know, and like I think that you have to romanticize the journey a little bit, and you have to just be in love with like the journey and why you're doing it. Because if you forget why you're doing it, you're gonna fall and you're gonna you're gonna quit or you're gonna not be able to push
And
as hard.
you will have a lot of lonely moments.
Yes,
You
always.
could
As
be,
an
you could
entrepreneur
be,
and as an artist.
you could be traveling the world and hanging out in nice restaurants
Yeah,
and taking pictures with pretty girls, but you decide to work hard. So it is a sacrifice, but it's not a sacrifice if you love the journey, correct? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
What does the future look like to you for young creatives? This is something you've started, and therefore I'm sure you're getting a lot of pushback, but you're getting
Oh,
some positive signs. So, what does it look like? What does the creative economy look like? What is the future of the creative capital?
yeah, I think like when it comes to the creator economy, I think that in consumer, creatives are the future. I think once again, when you have AI and I can make a tech product in a weekend with lovable AI or one of these like Framer or one of these like coding tools, now it becomes like, what is that story that consumers are buying into? What is that brand that people are buying into? And I think that the most sustainable brand are creative backed, influencer backed, celebrity backed brands. And so I think the future for creatives, while different and I think evolving, I'm an optimist, and I think that it's a lot of opportunity for us. And while, like I mentioned before, I think the issue with democratized content creation is that it creates a lot of noise that now we have to cut through even more so from. Um, the benefit of that is now those tools we can leverage to build more amazing things. I think that music is going to reach a different echelon just because technology, like for example, I could not have done what I did in the 90s. I have a full studio in my house. Like I would not be able to economically, like in the 90s, this type of huge studio equipment would cost like tens of thousands of dollars. I couldn't afford that at that time. but because of the technology allowing me to use my computer essentially to create like studio level songs, that was how I was able to get started. So I think also we're going to see a lot of really amazing emerging talent, especially from more underserved markets or nations. I think like places like a lot of like places more in like rural South Asia, places in Central Asia, people in the Balkans, the Caucasus, like in all these different kind of regions in the world. I think we're gonna start South America. I think a lot of these other regions of the world we're gonna see some amazing talent. And so I'm super excited to see the new art that these, I guess, next generation of Gen Alpha, and even Gen Z and the millennials, all of us to create. I'm very optimistic and I'm excited to kind of see that future unfold.
This is awesome. This has been awesome, Tanun, talking to you.
But it's
And
such a pleasure.
yeah, much like you, I'm also very optimistic. I really believe, that things have opened up. Everything's opened up. The technology is available to you. There's inspiration in our roots from various parts of the world. People are open to new things, and
Yep.
you can make it fast. You can get it out there. You can ship it fast.
Yes.
You
Yes.
can get
Exactly.
feedback so fast. So, I
Yes.
mean, if to add to what you're saying, the only thing I would say is if we spend less time consuming and more time creating,
I love it.
creating the connections we need to create, creating the work we need to create, getting the feedback, and then acting on that feedback with great humility and creating again and again. I think that's
Yes.
where things need to go. And I've had a really good time talking to you, listening to you, and I'm sure everybody's also really enjoyed. And I'm going to now hand it over to Samrat, and I'm really grateful to you for waking up early in the morning.
Of
Maybe
course. Thank you so
a
much
little
for
bit of
having me.
sleep, yes, catch a little bit of sleep, have a good
Yeah.
trip to Dubai, and we look forward to seeing you here.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you to
When
everyone
you come
listening.
here, yeah, when you get here, we will organize a get together for
I
everyone
would
to
love this.
say yes,
I would love this. I gotta make my way to India,
yes.
first trip. You're a big reason why I want to go, be able to visit the whole team and everything in person. Thank you so much for everyone listening. This has probably been the most enjoyable 5 a.m. wake up that I've experienced in a long time. So even though, maybe the sleep needs to get recovered, I'm very high energy and it was amazing to talk to you, Sonia, like always. And once again, thank you so much for having me on. It was so amazing to talk, and I'm so excited to see like the episode later and share with my mother. My mother's gonna love this. I can't wait to
And look forward. I
share
look forward to meeting her. I can't wait to meet her. Yeah.
it. Awesome, beautiful.
Thank you. Samrat, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Tahnoon, for your brilliant insights. It's been a lovely session, talking to you, catching up with you. I'm going to introduce, something called the Mind Crafters course, which we all have been working on together. And for those who don't know, Tahnoon himself is a part of it as one of the masters of the creative sector who we are calling senseis because the course does deal with something called design sense pathway. It's a course for creators and for those who want to stay relevant in the AI driven creator economy, and that is the reason why this discussion becomes more important in that context. So for those of you who have joined, just a bit of information that this particular program is spread across 16 fun and exciting action packed weekends where you will create prototypes for real world solutions, work on very interesting industrial problems, and it's going to add to your range of experiences, your portfolio, and no matter whoever you want to be in the world of creativity or as a creator, it's just going to enable you anything. I will just put in the URL on the chat as well. It's designbarn.o/mind. Designbarn.o/mind, where you can go to check more details about this course, fill in your information, and expect a call back from us. And yeah, so it's an online course where everybody from all over the world is already volunteering for joining, and uh, we'll see you in the next Mindcast session. And if there's anything else to add, please.
Alun, if there's any links you want to share, you
Yeah.
can possibly share. Do you have access to the chat? You were talking about your brother's music. Why
Yes.
didn't you give
Yeah.
us
Let me.
access to that? Yeah.
Yeah. Let me. I'll send in some links for you guys too. I'll put in my LinkedIn. If
Okay.
anyone listening to the session wants to reach out, LinkedIn is a great way to do it. Just reach out to me, mention something like, "Oh, I saw you on the Mindcast
Mhm.
podcast session," and then I'll respond. I always try to get to them. So I'll put in my LinkedIn here, so then you guys could check it out. But yeah, I'm super excited. I highly recommend you guys checking out that course. I think that Sonia is like a mastermind. I know like we're supposed to be the senseis, but I think Sonia is like the real mastermind sensei behind like everything creative and even the business side, which is something that when I first spoke with her, I really appreciated. So I recommend you guys checking that out. And yeah, like I think it's an amazing course.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm sure everybody's looking forward to meeting you as well soon. Yeah. Thank you, Tanan.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you everyone for joining today. Till then, stay limitless.
I
Bye.
love it. Thank you guys. Stay limitless.
Bye.